Good morning, good morning, good morning. We have things to do today. Things in my way. So the new dungeon set. We're gonna get deep into that today. My mic. Where's my mic? There it is. All right. Phone cam. Oh yeah. All right. So last stream, all this we went over, trying to find what essentially is the what's the word? The aesthetic that we want. I've had an aesthetic for Jotun dungeons, aka my Giants Ancient Dungeons. Where's my button? There we go. And you can see that here, this crazy one, and we'll get to that aesthetic eventually. But something I realized since the last stream is I don't need to make the aesthetic as it was in its peak, in its like greatest form when the giants 11,000 years ago were running the world. It should be decayed. It's 11,000 years. So things should get simpler, worn down. And so and I want to make things like more simpler in shape, which can kind of communicate that. And something that we talked about on the last stream was big bricks means big creatures made it. Not necessarily, but that aesthetic of seeing big, huge bricks put together can kind of communicate big things made this. So I kind of thought of some aesthetics for triangle pieces based off some of the references that we looked at. There's a hovering tower that I thought about. So take a triangle and lift it up, and in between, you see here, essentially find a way to put an LED inside there. A simple one that you can get off Amazon, and you can use hot glue as a way to be a lifting platform as well as a spreader for the LED light. So I thought about that, which is great. I also, on Amazon, I ordered a roller, a texture roller. It'll be the first time I'm using a texture roller, so I don't know how well it's going to work out. When is it going to show up? Let's see. And the texture roller is something that I think is needed for at least the tiles, which we're going to cut today. So if I go So this is the texture roller that I got. It's basically this look right here. This. Nope. It should be this one that I got. I hope. Where's my shop? Purchases. What did it say? Yeah, that's the one I got. Woo. Okay. So it has this polyhedral kind of shape to it, and I really like it. When you look at the examples, there we go. This, I really like the idea of this texture, and then painting it in a very similar fashion where the details are different colors. And I think that'd be a nice texture to go over the tiles. Not necessarily over every aspect of everything that the giants made in the Jotun dungeons. But that might have been a pattern that they put on things as decoration. So I want to keep that in mind. And I'm going to experiment with that as we go. But today, we need to cut foam and get these tiles going. So how many tiles do we have to cut? 14 plus 8 corners, which is going to come out to being about 4 more pieces. Let's probably do 5 for backup. All right. I have actually just an update on the Halloween piece. I have to put more Mod Podge on the label. And I need to keep putting some more hot glue on this to give it that pouring liquid look to it. All right. Good morning, Tyler. All right, foam. Got that coffee, buddy. Let's just make some bigger cuts so that way we have extra, since it's such a scrappy piece. Oh, dude, it's all good. It's nice seeing you too. Cutting too much. There we go. I mean, I'm trying to figure out my schedule. I feel like these mornings are the only time I actually can do this. What's happening? Yeah, I feel like in the mornings, it's the best time for me to be streaming. Any other time, it's really a conflict with my schedule. Like my client work, and then in the evening, I feel like everyone else streams, which is like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But in the evening, if everyone else is streaming, then no one else is really hanging out with each other because they're too busy being everyone else's stream. So I'm experimenting with the morning. That's what makes sense to me. Also, coffee. Double check. Can I change that? Right. The cats want to come in.
Yeah.
Well, too bad for my cats. Let's tighten this up just a little bit more. Got a little bit too much of a curve on that. Alright, so now we have 8 centimeter by 8 centimeter. Basically, roughly around 3 inches each direction. But we have an inch here. And when it comes to laying down tiles, I don't want to be laying down 1/2 inches everywhere. I feel like these are too big, too chonky. I think I'm more of a fan of the 1/2 inch. But they are the giants. Let me grab my old samples. You turn up my carpet. What's this? This? What bug? Is there a bug? Here we go. So I like the thinner look. It's definitely nicer. When you go to the big one, it starts getting into like Minecraft territory, personally. Here's one that has a little bit more accuracy to the size. And yeah, it just has some Minecraft. Like, it's aesthetically pleasing. But for a video game. Also, how big are you? Are you a free piece? You might be a free piece. Except for your edges. Alright. I'll cut those in half once I get more. This foam cutter has been one of the best things. Yeah, it has. It's been great. I'm making some consistent rectangles. I don't know what we can use those for, but we can use them for something. Ryan, what's up? Great. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Let's cut that. Heck yeah. How you doing this morning, Ryan? Making those tiles. There we go. Yeah. Moving on to last stream, we did a lot of prep work, and I got some headway on a lot of the planning, but now it's really about cutting the tiles down and getting that set going. Once the tiles are cut, we could probably move on to like pillars and archways and bridges. But since these are such easy cuts to make, why not start with them this way? There we go. Tighten up that wire. Don't forget to have your coffee, guys. Alright. Now, we want to cut them down, make more bricks out of what we have. What do I have here? Okay. Yeah, let's go with 1 centimeter. That feels about right. Okay. Yep, so these floor tiles, the plan is, so I have a random dungeon generator, and though I may not always use it, I want these tiles to work with it. That I roll some dice, and the dice determine how big the dungeon is based off how many tiles are going to be used. So I want enough tiles that fit that design, so that way I can roll the dungeon, and then the room is based off the dice, and I can just lay down the tiles based off the random generator, versus looking up maps all the time or designing a thing from scratch every single time. And I'm kind of making 3 sets. So for Jotun dungeons, the plan is a dirt version, a gray version, so kind of like warm and cold, and then a necro version, because I thought it would look cool. That's my hope, at least. I just want to start with making 1 set, and we start there, and not overwhelm myself. Way better. And these can probably be tests for different paint, different textures, different looks. Great. Oh yeah, this guy. Specific type of foam that I get. This one, which is different than the ones back here. It has a plasticky skin over the top that makes it really unusable unless you skin it on both sides. And it's really a pain in the butt when you forget to do that. Apparently this one had some weird dimension to it. Yeah, we can put this right here. Nice little count. So we're going to want to cut this side. Definitely this side. Go. Made a bit of a boo-boo. That's okay. Oh, that's not good. Oh, that's very not good. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, the looseness of the cable kind of just made it a little curved at the beginning. Let's see if we can angle it. You can kind of see that curve that kicked in right at the top. It's going to get all roughed out, but gotta be careful. Want that to happen on purpose, not an accident. that the whole piece of foam? It was. How about that? Probably bust out a good chunk if I use this 2-inch one. '80s. Thought today was Wednesday. You're welcome for fixing your dates. We are working on the dungeon set that we planned out last time. Getting the tiles cut so that way we can start getting our hands dirty and experimenting and getting out of the drafting phase. And then somehow we're going to find ourselves back in the drafting phase. As always. Did you end up? Did you end the pillar you were working on? Yes, I'll bring once we move back into the room. I'll show you some of the design work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Plenty. Some of these have to be triangles, and I suck at cutting triangles. Mostly because I don't have a template. But if I had a triangle here, I could slot that up. Oh, that scared me. Here. Let's make a template then. Let's prototype this. This one's thinner. Do I have pins? I don't think so. have nails. Alright, now I'm in a phase of making tools to make tools. You gotta make a tool because you don't have a tool, so that way you can make the thing that you want to make. Sean, good morning. I know, right? There we go. Problem with this back piece is these grooves right down here. Less heat. First, does it cut paper? No. I'm gonna have to sacrifice. Still too hot. Look at her. She just wants to come outside, but she can't. Cool. So, if that works right, we can lay this up against this wall. Should work. Doesn't work. Okay. Not as well as I want it to. Okay. That's because it's too short. Now that I have a bigger one, does that fix the problem? That should do it. How do I hold this to give an even amount of pressure? Messed it up. Let's just get through this. Thank God I have these scraps. There we go. Do you have some tack? I don't have tack on me. Well, maybe I do. We're gonna make this cut first. Aha! Even before I make the cut. The line's off. So I need it to be this. That's not gonna slide there. Hey, where's that tack? Where do I have it? Where did I place it? Tack is somewhere, I just don't know where. Let's just use tape. Just a little bit of tape does the job. Look at that. Way better. Okay. So we want this to be the spot. That's the spot. So how do you make sure? I could use 2. Yeah. That's where it's at. Too much pressure. Kobe. All right, let's try that. So, it worked, but it didn't work. You can tell that I missed the edge just by maybe a millimeter. James, good morning. Which tells me that if I had actually lined it up less than I thought, it would have worked. One more test. Let's see if we can get it. If you hear coughing, that's not me. Okay, so this is where I lined it up last time. So if I just give it a bit of a pinch. Let's go for a test shot. You can already see it wasn't lined up. Come on. You might hear my neighbor. Just a heads up. So close. So what? Come on. What was off? If I backtrack, what do I get? I mean, it's accurate. It might actually just be good enough. Here, let me zoom out so you can see. So, if I take one of the tiles, that lines up really well. And so does that. And remember, the corners are going to be chipped anyway. That might work. Should we go for it? Take a leap. Have a cup of coffee. All right. So this test is not a full centimeter, so this might end up not being a tile, but it might be saved. So the goal is to not lose one side. That's the goal. I don't want to just cut one and then one half is garbage. It'd be nice to actually keep both sides. Would it not be better to use a wooden jig? It absolutely would, man. But I got no wood jig for this. I got wood right here. Don't got no jig. that neighbor. All right. Are you the nerdy neighbor? I might be. He's the gaming neighbor. That's how that works. Allie took my scissors. I have not all of them. Most people seem to keep to themselves. It's as if people want to not socialize in real life, only over the internet. It's kind of weird. Like, who does that, right, guys? I could spot my neighbors. I just couldn't tell you who they are. Do I have my big knife in here? I have the blades for my big knife. Just don't have my knife. That's weird. Grab a smaller piece to do the taping. It's gonna help a lot. How do you keep a consistent schedule for D&D? I found impossible after 5 sessions. Not sure if it's a scheduling issue or a lack of interest. It's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both, because if the interest, it's not that they're not interested, but they're not interested enough to make it a priority in their schedule. Does that make sense? Can I make coffee? No, I'm not busy. I also organize the timeline of my world in eras. Heck yeah. It's a great exercise. Because you think about which cultures dominated which era. Alright. So, before I make that cut, let's make some more coffee. Because the girlfriend is demanding it. It's fine. I needed more coffee too. Hey. Now I need to chat up in the kitchen. That's what this is for. Honey. You have to do group work. Yeah. I saw her. Trying to go to the channel. There it is. Woo! There it is. Chat's up. Great. chat right here, I guess. Yeah, so Allie, to catch you up on that, Allie is taking online courses. Do you want me to make your coffee? Do you have your headphones in?
Yeah.
Do you want me to make your coffee?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, you can give me caffeine.
Do you have a cup with you?
Yeah, you can come get my good stuff. Or this guy.
Be careful, you might not be muted.
No, I am. I double checked.
Allie's current favorite mug. We just got it. So let's see, what we timeline of the world. Yeah, defining a timeline in the world is, to me, super important. It doesn't have to be highly detailed, but if you got like, I don't know, 2-3 eras going back, I think that's really good. Because that can help you go, when you find a ruin, like a ruined tower, you can ask the question, what era did this tower get made? What was the technology of that era? Like what we're doing right now with the Jotun dungeon. It's a very like magical stone age made by giants, so things are a little bit bigger, things are simpler, but crazy artistic things can be made, not solely because of magic. Like if we look back at Egypt, for example, the fact that they would make an obelisk, a 30 to 40 foot tall obelisk, out of a single chunk of granite or sandstone, and their tools were literally stone hammers, just slave labor. That's incredible what they were able to achieve, and the accuracy. It really tells you how smart humans are, how much engineering goes into just simple building. And you really work with what you got. So some cool shapes can be made and cool designs can be made by a Stone Age. And if you have giants, well, things are just going to get bigger and bigger, right? So you want things to be big to represent that. And if they have, like, in my world, orcs, which are half giants, if they have those as servants, they would probably go in and do the little details. And they would make sure that there are ways for them to move around, as well as making space for their giant overlords. Just waiting for that steamer. I got this little, my dad got me this. It steams the milk, froths the milk. I leave for 10 minutes and suddenly see Mike's in the kitchen. Hey man, you gotta stay. You gotta stay focused. A lot can happen in a short span of time. And you know, outside was a different era. This is a new era. And eventually this will be a past era too. That's how time goes. I'm gonna go give Allie her ghost cup. Full of frothed and whipped almond milk. I'll be right back. And now my coffee. Is it backwards for you? Or is it backwards for me? It's backwards for both of us? That's funny. That's super funny. All right. We shall move to a new era of time now. Back to outside, where the coughing from the neighbor may continue. There we go. Whoa. Okay. I'm holding like 4 things. Oh no, there's a door. And I hear the coughing. Poor guy. If it does get annoying and starts hacking his lungs, I'll move the camera in. Okay, don't need the iPad. I don't know if it was the last stream, but stick to your seat, Mike. Oh, if you said it last stream. Thank you. Alright, it's time to do the test. Sounds lagging a lot. Doing some snaps to make the tests. Oh wow, that is a delay. That's interesting. Let me just there we go. Oh, easy. Yeah, it gets a little choppy because it's sending a signal wirelessly from my phone to OBS. Does it sound a little bit better now? Yeah, If it starts to lag or sounds a little choppy like that, just let me know and I can reset the app. Cool. All right, here we go. Let's test out this cardboard jig. Nope. Offset. Because the moment I put pressure, it realigns it. Okay, there we go. Just slightly off. Just slightly. Not enough to be the end of the world, though. Do I work full time on Fables? I do not. I work weekends on Fables, and then early mornings like this. This would turn out pretty nice. I think if we put this down, it'll look nice. Oh, that looks fine. That looks so fine, you know. That's fine. I don't work full-time on Fables. Full-time, I edit videos for clients like Corridor Digital, Better Ideas, and a couple other clients that are not publicly known. So just like producers. Which is kind of a blessing, but also a curse, right? So like through my client work, I can make enough money to pay for the custom music that I'm making. Oh, by the way, guys, speaking of that, derail. I have a new sample. For music for the World of Aeda. We got the first sample of the UMBRAL music, the Shadow Realm, the Darklands. Oh, it sounds so good. I gotta show it to you guys before the end of the stream. But at the same time, I don't get to work on Fables as often as I want to get things done on a timely manner. So it's like I spend all day editing videos, and then at the end of the day, I need to edit Fables. And some weeks, you know, I'm working 7 days that week. Some weeks I'm working 4 days. That changes how much Fables I can get done. It would be a better idea to make triangles connected. Guys, why are you making my ideas not as good? So something like that makes sense. Turn off the cut. So we did this. There we go. Kobe, stop being smarter than me. Don't claim to be Da Vinci and make me Hero, who made the first automated door. Is it Hero or Hero? I think it's Hero. Made the first automatic door for steam power, and it was for a church because they wanted to prove to people that God exists, or at least a God. All right, there we go. So we still want, you know, this tape to be there. It just helps secure it. In my opinion. said that if you pin the paper triangles on top of the square, it would be easier. Yeah, if I did pin it, but then I have a pinhole, and I'm trying to avoid the pinholes. All right, let's give this a shot. Line it up. Put pressure on it. Okay. Okay, here we go. I think that was a perfect cut. A near perfect cut. But it adds texture to the paint. Celine. Good morning, I didn't know you were here. All right. Crap, is this Celine now? Or is it Celine? Did I fuck that up already? Someday I'll have a better IQ. Okay. I'm gonna put less pressure on it personally. There we go. There we go, and cut. Look what happens when we make tools, guys. Look what happens. Fantastic. Again, another near perfect cut. So we need a total of 8 triangles. We'll get there in no time at this rate. Steady flow of pressure makes me really happy. Close, but good enough. Me trying to change the amount of pressure I give halfway through really changes it. But you can't even tell. Look who came to visit us. Luna. Luna. Yeah, you can't come outside. There we go. It's like, how do I operate this? God, man, the fact that it goes by so quick because we try to save both sides is so helpful. Is anyone else here getting flashbacks from early stream days? Ooh. My human is outside taunting me again, making fun of the fact that I can't phase through walls. I'm glad he's having fun. My neighbor. There we go. Here we go. Eight. How many of these do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We only need 14. 14 of these. And then 8 of these for one set. I think keeping this as a backup be smart. We can use some of these for tests, like experimenting with paint. Because we definitely want to make our palettes before we actually just go right into it. You can use these as test subjects as well. And this can just be a backup for something that breaks. Unless I have a bad... Yeah, I can actually just swap this one out. This one's got a weird cut in it. So I can use this as painting tests. these are what we're going to work with first to kind of get our paint and style right. I think he's doing like multiplayer online game. If I wanted to recommend Fables to my friends, what would you say is the best entry point? What do you want to recommend them? The games, the talking heads, or the crafting? Come on. You can't. You can't go outside. I can't let you. Come on. Yes. Oh, I didn't know. I wanted to respect your privacy. I do have a little shadow.
I was texting Katie. Katie, can I tell my
They can hear you, just heads up.
That's fine. I said, can I tell my professor why I'm frustrated with her work? And she said, yeah, you can definitely voice your concerns. I feel like Katie just gave me permission, but I wanted to I was like, but am I gonna sound whiny? And she's like, no. So I'm gonna tell my professor because this is the second time that I'm doing a lot of the front load and no one's taking initiative, and I'm really frustrated.
Yeah, you can voice that to a professor.
Yeah. Because one of the people, she did help come up with ideas, but I feel like I still had to push her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was the one type, I was one who opened up whiteboards, started looking everything out, and the other guy sat there in silence. So I was like, hey, you can chime in whenever you want. And he's like, oh, I'll write this one part. And I'm like, that's not doing the group work. You weren't a part of the conversation about the topic and subject.
Mm-hmm.
I will say the other girl did do more, but on Tuesday there was 4 of us, and it was only me and the guy who really did the work. And I'm just like, if you don't want to keep doing group work, then do work for other people. And it's just it doesn't help me.
Sure.
And I don't want them getting my grade. And I don't want to fail, so I still have to do the work.
Sure.
This is why I hate group projects. I hate them.
It can be frustrating. Oh, she's got math in the book.
Oh, but she needs another.
She needs another one?
Another one from Mama. Oh, she didn't. We didn't film it.
Let
You're
me
so
put
pretty.
me down, woman. Put me down.
Do you guys see this face?
Put me down.
Look at those back legs. She's so bad. I'm telling you all morning. I can't have this in return.
Super funny. So,
Hi, Kobe.
I cut all these triangles and squares. I feel proud of myself.
Celine said based on her schedule, it's hard to watch you.
This is getting out of hand now.
You do-
There are 2 of them.
You do Saturdays now, right?
I try to do Sunday mornings and Thursday mornings.
Yeah, so Celine, you can still watch him on Sunday. Oh my goodness, do we need more food? Come here.
Give me food, human. You know, it'd be easy if I just quickly go cut this.
for view. I did that.
You feel proud?
No. I had to turn on the light to clean her food bowl and it woke me up and I couldn't sleep for 20 minutes. Yes, Kobe, for you European folks, it is perfect for you guys, which is nice because I will say, it depends. I feel like we have a lot of people who watch us in Europe or on the East Coast, so it technically does benefit them a bit more depending on their schedule. But I understand, like for you, Celine, depending on what your job is, it is hard to watch the stream. But I do feel like we have more European watchers, and it's hard because it's like an 8-hour difference for them. So
European or West Coast?
no.
That's what I usually get out of it.
Finn is the only one on the West Coast.
Possibly.
Everyone else is on the East Coast.
So I just took this trowel piece and just cut the top off because I want to get a layered effect. There we go. Chile, it's 1 p.m. What's that, 4-hour difference. Okay. So I want something to be like that. I don't know where I place my tools. I have a very specific tool that I want to use to do what I'm doing, which is texturing the stone. Don't know where it is. Squizzy. Kinda works. Back to my question. If I wanna recommend games, best entry point. They like heavy narrative driven stuff. We have the 4-part Alien one-shot. It's a good sci-fi one, good spooky horror. Then we have the 20-episode Curse of Amity Island, which just won a bunch of awards, such as Best Editing, Best Sound Design, Best Web Series, and I even got an award for Best Game Master in that series. Then, so those would be the best options. Currently editing a couple that are about to come out. I say about. That timeline. So yeah, I would recommend the Alien one as a good sci-fi, or if they want something longer, 20 episode Curse of Amity Island. Tinfoil. That's what I want. That took longer than I wanted. Get a nice beading. Just put the stone right in its place. I mean, this is supposed to be a slab, so we don't want to put texture everywhere. Some of those edges. Texture on the cuts I just made. There, nice big slab of stone. And that's gonna go right on top of that. And the idea would be that all the tiles have that look. So rather than being tiny 1-inch squares, we have 3-inch slabs of stone every tile. And that makes sense when you think of a creature that big lifting up a piece of stone. Let's also get some cracks in there. answers?
I want to use this. When are you gonna be done streaming?
Oh, you want to use my phone? Do you want to use this?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't have a phone mount yet. I don't know. How long have I been streaming? I've been streaming
7:30.
for 2 hours. I could stream for another like half hour, and yeah, let's go for another half hour because then I can start my day. Alright, I got some samples of concrete cracks up on the screen. Been a long time since I did this. Remember, this is an ancient dungeon, about 11,000 years old. There will be cracks. Yeah, one of the plans that I have for backers is if we can get to another. How many patrons are we away from? I have a goal set so that way it encourages Allie and I to actually do a long form, like heavy narrative inspired just one-on-one campaign. have it set pretty high, actually. That is a game I want to do. We just can't do it right now because we have 7 or 8 games recorded and they all just need to get edited and released. Let's go down this side. Cool. And then we kind of want a texture around here. Get too zoomed in. You guys can't see what I'm doing. Man, what if? No. What's the measurement? I need a ruler. Why do all my rulers? I just need a ruler in every room and everything. Further away and zoom in. Let's do that. Where it is like wide and up close. Okay. So we have 2 markers right here. One's at the 20 centimeter mark and one's at the 60 centimeter mark of an 8 centimeter piece. The goal being magnets. They can snap in. Not even cutting, I'm just putting pressure on them. Just to bevel the edge. Doing this with the blunt side of the knife. Cut a little bit off the corners, just enough. There's no straight corner because age and wearing things down. There we go. That's a nice looking tile. The magnets that go right there. It's pretty simple, and I like that. What's the size of one person? Half your movement is the tile, basically. How does this look when we do it on triangles? You want the window? Okay. Oh, what? That's not a full triangle. same idea here. Uh-oh. Yeah, nice little chip piece. magnet right here on the side of the desk. Perfect. And 4. Yum yum yum. So this is where that compatibility thing comes in. Goal is that this could snap into another set of pieces, such as a scaffolding set. I want the magnets to connect here too. So, this on the outside. And I have 2 pens out. Very thin. Even this. Very tight. Almost too small. Like the centimeter is perfect for the magnets, but if I cut it down to put the slab, it actually starts to not fit. Settle down, giant. So maybe I have to use my tiny magnets. Whoopsie. Here we go. Yeah, those will fit. Those slip right in. Look at that. Snaps right in. Almost no glue needed. Great. So now that we have some tiny magnets in the corner piece and the center slab, tiny magnets will do fine. Heck yeah. Obviously they need to be glued in, but let me just make sure north and south is constantly the same direction. That being, by that I mean one side is north, one side is south. Okay, so magnet snaps there, magnet snaps there. When you have no glue, it all comes apart. Great. Fantastic test. Ooh, I did not go straight in. I did do it at an angle. So that's good to know. Be careful about that. Great. Great prototype. I'll let the glue for the tops dry before I try to put glue on the insides for the magnets. But overall, guys, this is what we can expect the tiles to kind of look like when we're doing these Jotun dungeons. Is the focus able to get that close? I think these will look great and establish, like, oh, if these tiles come down, these were made by ancient big people, you know? I think that sets the precedent really well. And the magnets are all in the same direction. It's all 8 centimeters, which matches my previous structure. so it all kind of ties in aesthetically. It's pretty nice. And once with the texture roller shows up, we'll be able to try that out and see how that kind of makes it even look more unique. Because if we were going to do the same tile structure or similar for dragon dungeons, I actually found texture rollers that have Aztec designs on them that we can use to make dragon ones look different than Jotuns, because dragon architecture is very similar to, or I'm hoping for it to be similar to Mesoamerican, Aztec, Mayan, kind of that area. Whereas Jotuns are trying to be a little bit more in the sci-fi leaning architecture. So more perfection, but rusted and destroyed over time. Cool. I'm super proud of this. So before we end the stream, I want to actually share some cool stuff. Because I have gotten the latest sample of the UMBRAL track. And I will update everybody who doesn't know what that is, or what I'm talking about. Okay, so what am I talking about? I'm not a composer, not a musician. I tried when I was young, and I wasn't good. And I was discouraged very quickly, so I left. But something I do as a dungeon master, and something I'm really happy about doing as a dungeon master, is I use this Bluetooth speaker all the time. I put it in front of my DM screen when I travel, or in my previous setup, I had it up on the ceiling, always Bluetoothing from my laptop when I DM. And I would use a Stream Deck to kind of switch between background sounds and music, especially for combat, so that way we can always, as players, enjoy it. Even for the recorded games, because a lot of the software tools that I have can actually remove the music from the background if I balance it out right on set at the table. It's why I like Fantasy Plus, which is a web browser version to share music between your players if you're playing over Discord or Zoom or whatever. It's very much like a Stream Deck, but for digital tabletop play. So, I started with royalty-free music. In fact, most actual play channels use royalty-free music, such as Critical Role, Dimension 20. Most of the music they use is royalty-free, whether it's from Epidemic or from a composer that's a big fan of them and offers them their music to use. They don't actually go make their own. Even though Critical Role has their own albums, for example, they don't really use those in the games. So something I wanted to do on top of the world building that I do with building out the timeline of the eras, on top of making these dungeon tiles specific to those eras, I wanted to give each era its motif, its sound. In the previous stream, the new dungeon set, we actually go over we listen to all the music that's currently being made. We have a motif for almost every era currently. Download this file and put it in the right folder so I don't lose it. And I'm working with a composer. I cannot pronounce my composer's last name. I'm gonna have to ask him for the pronunciation. But his first name is Ivan, and he has his own YouTube channel where he plays ambient sci-fi, ambient fantasy, epic music for you to listen to and relax to. So I'm working with him to make music for my world. Let me do some quick organization. Make sure everything's where it needs to be. Close this because someone's doing the yard work. So Umbral. There we go. Downloads. Okay, so we've listened to in a previous stream the Primordial Age, the Age of Thunder, the Age of Wrath, the Age of Moonlight, First Dawn, Second Dawn. There's quite a few motifs, and not all of them yet, because we have about 11 motifs that we want to make. But we just got the first sample for the Umbral, and for me, that's the Shadow Realm. That's the underworld. And I wanted it to sound otherworldly. So we use a lot of synths to get a very necro dungeony feel. It's not the finished version, but I think it's really cool and I think you'll enjoy it. The goal with these motifs is to set the style and the vibe for the ambient tracks that will come later. The goal is to release publicly so you can play them and use them. Also, I would be running those ambient tracks in the background when running games. So, let us listen to the first sample of the Umbral track, which sounds so cool. If I make sure all my things are working. Great. Here we go. Yeah, so that futuristic essence of it, we talked about that. It didn't fit the fantasy world a lot. I'm just gonna play it again in the background. It doesn't really fit the fantasy world aspect of it. But because it's futuristic, because of the synths and the electronics, it has an otherworldly feeling to it when you mix it with fantasy. Imagining this sound in a dungeon in Dark Souls. Your knight is going through a dark dungeon that has a night sky. Monsters around the corner that are coming out of the shadows. Vampires. Undead. I think this sets a really good tone when you go from the above world. And I'll play the Second Dawn, which I think is the current era of my world. I'll play that track right after this so you can really get a sense of the contrast of what it feels like to be above the world, traveling or being in towns, to going underground, deep underground, into the underworld. Exploring exploring ruins of the ancients, yeah. And so here's the Second Dawn. the above world. And so that 180-degree flip is really important to me as a dungeon master. So that way the experience of the player really shifts. So for example, we could go from above the ground into this nice feeling, and we can actually go into, hey, on theme, Age of Thunder. We can find a dungeon made by giants, and I'll have an ambient track based off the Age of Thunder, which is the era where the giants ruled, to set the tone for the dungeon made by giants. So you would get this sound. Obviously, that's the motif, not the ambient track. But, and like the ambient tracks are supposed to be labeled chase, explore, resting, right? So you would get those kind of ambient tracks that I can change the mood for. But imagine that kind of theme. You're exploring the Jotun dungeon, the thing that we've been crafting for the last couple hours. But then you find a blue flaming torch, blue flaming light. See, when the lights in my world, my candle lights, the colors mean something very important. A warm orange light, unlike that, more like what you see in the reflection over here. That is a normal torch of the material world, as D&D players would like to call it. Blue flames, blue light, is the light of the umbral, the shadow realm, bleeding into the world. And if you follow the blue light, like the white rabbit, you will, like Alice, find yourself in the umbral. Explore a dungeon that is in a really strange world where shadows live and light doesn't. You have to go through mazes that can be upside down, bridges made of bones stitched together by some creature long ago who needed to make a bridge, and all they had were the bones of giants and people who passed away thousands of years ago. So, we got the new Umbral sample. I'm excited. My notes were to kind of give some big horns in there. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. And after that, oh man, the Umbral sounds so good. After the Umbral, we're probably going to tackle the Wild, which in Aida, my world, the Wild, WYLDE, is the Feywild. But rather than being a different place, a different plane, it's actually just in the deep, dark forests. You wander too deep into the forest, you'll find yourself in the wild. And you might be jumping through time. You might be interfering with fairy and spirits and their own business. So I'm excited for that as well. Especially when we get to the current games that I'm currently editing. We have the one shot, the Lost Mines of the Colossus, which are actually a Jotun dungeon, so the Age of Thunder music's going to be used there. Do we go to the Umbral at all? No, but there is an Umbral track that gets played, that will be played in that, which is great. Then we have Cocaine Owlbear, which has a lot of the wild music put in there. And then Umbral in there as well. So I'm really excited. And then we have the Haunting of Ruby Minis Inn, which is super Umbral. Super Umbral. So I'm super psyched for that. And when it comes to making these dungeons, or not making the dungeons, but making the tiles. Like I said a little bit earlier, the part of the plan is to make 3 versions of the set. A version that is gray stone that can be used in colder environments, because I don't really want to make a set of terrain for every terrain, every biome. Like, I've tried that. It can look beautiful. It can look gorgeous. But that means all my tiles are now super niche and they're just filling up space and are less likely to get made. And I'm making multiple versions of the same thing and I can get easily bored from that. So the plan is to make a gray set meant for colder climates. A dirt set, a more brown set that could be used for warmer climates. And that can also be interchanged and mixed around. But then I also want to make the Umbral set, something that belongs in the Shadow Realm, something that's meant to be covered in darkness and capture that vibe. So, super hyped for that. Again, we just have to start with making these prototypes, and these prototypes are coming out great. We got to paint them. So I'm not going to do magnets on the rest of the prototypes. Just these will be fine. The rest of the prototypes have to get the texture get put on them. And once we have 3 squares and 3 triangles textured and glued together, we'll actually paint them up. And then we can actually see what those paints are that are going to be for the final coloring for mostly all dungeon tiles moving forward. Mostly. The same thing's going to happen when we move to the Elven dungeons. Is they're very Roman and Greek inspired. So they're all going to be painted white first. And then we'll get the dirt, the gray, and the umbral version of those as well. So it's really about figuring out what the base color is going to be for these. Probably somewhere around black, I think, makes the most sense. So it contrasts the dungeons, the lighter dungeons of the elves. Wait, so every plane of D&D has a physical location in the main plane of your world? So there are no planes in Aida. This is a big deviation of my world from core Forgotten Realms from D&D. There is no upper plane, lower plane. There are no hells. There are no heavens. The 3 what would normally be planes that exist physically in my world is the wild, which is deep in the forests. And then we have the astral sea, which it makes up outer space beyond the atmosphere. And I even have lore for different altitudes of the world because in one of our adventures, one of my players decided to be a pilot with a hot air balloon, and I had to figure out what the lore would be for that, so that way I can answer certain questions that may come up. And then we have the umbral, which is deep under the world. It has a very like center of the earth experience. So when you go deep enough, things kind of just flip upside down, and there's a sky there now. There's clouds. There's a storm. That all exists somewhere deep. Is it another plane, or is it just actually physically built in? I don't have the answer for that, and nor do I want the answer to that, because I think answering that removes the terrifying nature of the umbral in my mind. But yes, it's all physically in one place. There's no other plane. When I play games like Shadow Dark or D&D, it's actually important for me to have alternative spells to spells that say go to different planes, or I know what those spells would do in the case of my world. So it's like, oh, we're going to the ethereal plane. There's no such thing. So where would the ethereal plane send you? I might have you roll a d6 and might go to either the astral, the wild, or the umbral. Probably is going to send you to the umbral. There's a cool game called I don't think it's popular. I don't think so, because it's a Souls-like game. Let's see if I can bring up the title. There it is. Lords of the Fallen. In that game, there's a really interesting concept that I really love. You walk around, it's super necro, it's super dark, it's really cool. But when you're walking around, you have a black lantern with blue flame in there. And if you lift it up, you don't emit light. Instead, you emit photons of a portal that you can see into the shadow realm with it, right? And I really love this idea because it captured what D&D has always tried to do with the shadow realm and the Feywild, which is it's a mirrored world, just texture different, broken, decayed, or overgrown, right? And I love that as a D&D mechanic, that this is an item that you can use. So if you come across a broken bridge in just a normal dungeon, if you lift it up, an umbral candle, whether it's a black candle with a little blue flame on there, or a lantern that's emitting more light, you can see into the umbral and see that the bridge continues, but instead of brick, it's continuing by bones, like a spine that crosses the bridge. And I really love that mechanic. And I feel like if I define the umbral too much beyond what it's meant to represent thematically, we actually lose some of the spirit of that idea. Skeleton undead dragon covering the wing of the wings with shadows, absolutely. Just note, Roman and Greek statues and architecture were painted. Yes, they were. In their original times, they were. But just like that lawnmower, I don't know if you can hear it. But just like I was mentioning when we started the stream with the Jotun dungeons, this right here is the architecture and style that the Jotuns had. Something very sci-fi, but made of stone because it was a stone age with magic. But this has to get worn down, and we have to get to something simple like just triangles, just squares, something that didn't last because it's 11,000 years later. And that's why we have just big slabs of stone here, simple shapes. That's why we are going to make pillars look more like this. This was me trying to experiment with how many triangles I can fit in a thing. But we have something more like this, something like that. We have a hovering system with a glow stick inside. So, yeah, that's the umbral. That's the wild. The astral sea is but the cosmos that fills the sky at night when Selune, the last moon, isn't shining. All right, everybody, I'm gonna call it there for the stream. It was a good Thursday. Good Thursday morning. We cut all our tiles. Let's kind of run through what we did. Cut all our tiles for at least one set. I'd need to cut more. But what we need to do spend time on is building out these prototypes. So that way we have something to paint, get the textures right. And then we can race to the finish line making a full set of Jotun dungeon tiles that are meant to connect with my random dungeon tile maker. Or dungeon maker, I should say. Generator. Which we can go over on the next stream. So, the next stream is going to be Sunday morning. I fly out later today to go to Los Angeles. I'll be there till most of Saturday. So, I should, yeah, Sunday morning streaming should be fine. Yeah. Thank you, Hades. Is it Hades? Or is it Hadass? All right, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. And I also appreciate that you enjoy the world building. It's been a few years putting it all together, and I'm really happy that we're able to physically put something together to make it playable, especially after all the games that we've run in the world that has helped lock in the world building. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great afternoon, morning, evening. Maybe have a great and good night.